I was wrong. Folks, we talked a little bit about this on the Friday financial wrap up with Ty, but I wanted to make sure we covered this in the daily financial news so all the haters can frankly go pound sand. Yes, I was wrong. I firmly believed and frankly thought we were on a pretty good trajectory to validate that August 2025 was the transaction bottom. Well, folks, that is no longer true. August 2025 is not the bottom. What we posted in January and ultimately just saw in the February reports clearly shows there is still weakness in the existing home sales. If you don't know what I'm referring to, the January existing home sales were not good. They were down after being down the month before. And then we have pending home sales down again. I was under the belief that last week's pending home sales would be up 7 or 8%. I believed lower mortgage rates. I believed more inventory, relistings would lead to a rather severe snapback. And as always, I will admit when I'm wrong. I can't say it any clearer than I was wrong. August 2025 is not the bottom. And frankly, it's too soon to say if January 2026 will be the bottom. We will need time to validate. That said, it's hard for me to think it goes lower from here. We again have more listings. We've had, I think last I read, 75,000 properties relisted. Part of the reason December was so weak was because we lost 18% of the market. That's not true for January. A lot of that came back. So again, not the bottom. I was wrong. August 2025, not the bottom. There, I've said it. I believe in holding myself accountable. I believe, frankly, every content creator who makes forecasts should admit when they're wrong. And frankly, most don't. So there you go. Next up, on Friday, we learned that President Trump's tariffs are unconstitutional. I think you need to be careful with that talk track. It was not Trump's tariffs are unconstitutional, meaning the president can't issue tariffs. What the Supreme Court actually wrote, like in words, was the use of the IEE or whatever the heck he used was unconstitutional. So what does that mean? Well, we've seen it already. Trump just throws out what he tried last time and he brings in a new avenue, a new vehicle. That said, the Supreme Court's ruling also highlighted what the president can do. Right? There is a ruling that, again, the Supreme Court highlighted that gives the president, I think it's 150 days to issue tariffs without Congress's approval. You can bet your bottom dollar that will be leveraged. So again, I do not think this tariff kerfuffle is over, but I do think it's fair to say what happens next. Now, in fairness, I've been studying the economy for 30 years, and we've never had something like this before, at least in my adult life. We don't have historical records of a president issuing tariffs and then being ruled unconstitutional and what happens next. So I think there's a couple of things that I logically think of are the first questions I ask. One, will businesses like Walmart, like Target, big businesses ask for a refund? I think the answer is yes. And I think that's probably why you saw some of the retail stocks take off on Friday, was because they thought they would get a big fat check. I got to be honest. I do not see a refund, like an IRS refund. I do not see the government cutting a check or a wire or whatever. I suspect, again, this is just a guess because we don't really know what's going on. My guess is they're going to use some kind of tax credits, like hey, you spent, $100 million on tariffs, write it off on your taxes, something like that. So again, I think it will be used through the tax code. But again, we don't know. This ain't over. Lots of things to talk about. Next up, the next question the media is asking seems to be, will households, will you, will I, will others get a check, much like stimmy checks? Will we just get a check in the mail or a deposit to our bank accounts for the $1,200, the $1,800, whatever dollar amount it is said that we were charged because of these tariffs? I doubt it. I don't think that's coming. I think if you're waiting for a $1,500 check because of this ruling, you're being a little bit foolish. I don't see that happening. I do see companies getting their money. Unfortunately, I can't see us, me included, myself included, getting a refund. And then lastly, will Trump try again? Of course he will. He's not done with this. Tariffs are his, key vehicle to bring down debt and all these things. He's not going down without a fight. Expect more on this. All right, what do we got going on? Economic news next week. We do have a busy week. We've got a bunch of Fed speeches. I can't wait for the next Fed president where he hopefully comes in and says, guys, stop talking, but we are where we are. We will have a Fed speech on Monday along with factory orders. On Tuesday, we get four Fed speakers on Tuesday, along with Case Shiller. Wednesday, we have two more Fed speeches. Thursday, we get weekly unemployment claims. And Friday, we finally catch up on lagging data and we get PPI and construction spending. Got an interesting update from Lance Lambert at Resi Club. If you're not following Lance on X or Twitter, you are missing out. He said that 36.5% of 200 largest metros are negative year on year. What does that really mean? That means 73 out of 200 largest metros are negative prices year on year. I do want to let you know about some fun stuff coming up today. In about 23 minutes, yes, 23 minutes, I will be going live with Mark, the financial firefighter, and many others for 2 hours. I had a gap in my schedule today, and we're going to go for 2 hours. Mark and many others will be asking me questions. If you want to join and ask questions, do yourself a favor. Look up Mark, the financial firefighter. That's Mark with a C, M-A-R-C, the financial firefighter, and you will see the live stream. It is already scheduled. It is occurring now in 22 minutes. I hope to see you there. And if you are in school, I do want to thank all of you for joining. We did, in fact, add over 100 members in the last week. You guys want to get the replay. You want to see the podcast. All of this special and unique content is now there for you. And at 10 a.m., I will be going live and love to welcome all the new members, answer your questions, tell some stories. So again, we got 3 hours of Q&A coming, 2 on YouTube, 1 inside school. So I hope to see you there. National Association of Realtors put out an interesting article talking about what agent sold what last year. Well, as it turns out, 71% of agents sold 0 homes last year. 0. 7 out of 10 agents sold 0 homes last year. 14.9, let's just call it 15% of agents sold between 1 and 4 homes. 1 and 4 homes. 7% sold between 5 and 9. I guess the question I have is at how many homes do you have to sell as a real estate agent to be a full-time income? I'm guessing it's 10 to 19, but again, maybe it depends on what market you're in. But only 4% of agents sold 10 to 19, so 1 a month, roughly. I think that is pretty interesting. Next up, we got a report from John Burns, once again highlighting that mom and pop investors own most rentals. 94% are mom and pop investors, and 75% own between 1 and 5 homes. So the thing that says institutions own most homes, or at least most rentals, is just not true. We do have some Fed speak to talk about this weekend. Fed President Musselman. I am focused on PCE, not CPI. That's an important thing. Always remember that. The Fed likes PCE, specifically PCE core. Why is that important? Well, the last reading on CPI was down significantly, I think all the way down to 2.5, but PCE was up. So again, you and I might be celebrating CPI being down, but it doesn't matter. The Fed tells us repeatedly, they don't care about CPI. They care about PCE. So always remember that. Next up, companies are feeling cost pressure and people are challenged by inflation. Lastly, the real Fed funds rate is at or below neutral. Hello. You can pencil in Musselman as one of the Fed presidents that want to raise rates. Remember, last week we learned in the Fed minutes that several Fed presidents said the next rate move might be up. What Musselman just told us is he's one of those. He believes we are below neutral. Remember, also, we've heard from other Fed presidents that say we are 75 basis from neutral. So the Fed is clearly divided. It is very, very telling what is going on at the Fed. Next up, Fed President Logan gave us a new benchmark to watch. He says that 30,000 is the new break even for the job market. Last year, it was believed it was 75,000. Now they're telling us that's 30,000. So basically, the addition of 30,000 jobs in a month will be net even for the job labor market. I think that is really, really close to zero. That is kind of scary, frankly. I honestly can't think it's that low. I think it's got to be 50,000 or above. But again, Fed President Logan says 30K. Next up, last thing he said was not convinced on path to 2%. Every time I read something like that, I shake my head. You guys have heard me rant about the misguided, inaccurate, false shelter data. These folks all know about it. I don't know what to say. Maybe there's some data they have that I don't see, that maybe some other parts of inflation are up in hiding. Maybe there's a boogeyman in the shadows. But man, it's pretty obvious with real-time data that inflation is below 2% if you correct for shelter. And then finally, folks, we did add 100 members to school in the last 8 days. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Here are some of the latest just in the last 24 hours. Ryan, Kira, Jacqueline, and Sujit. Thank you for joining. Remember, 10 a.m., you have live Q&A. Also, people keep asking. I thought I would show it here. If you want to see the 2-day replay, all you have to do is go to school, classroom, and that's the icon. Everyday Wealth Builders. It says ORaaT Family Reunion number 3. That's where the full 16 hours of content plus 14 podcasts are, including podcasts from Dion and Brian Davila, round 1 and round 2. Round 2 is the spicy one. Round 1 is kind of mild. Round 2 is spicy. You'll also find Millennial Mike interviewing my mom, which I think is interesting and scary all at the same time. And you'll see ladies of ORaaT representing and many, many more. So join school. Go get your content. Have some fun. We'll see you in the Q&A. And I hope to see all of you in 16 minutes when we go live with the Financial Firefighter and so many others. I look forward to it, and we will talk soon. Don't forget to check out Steadily. They are Landlord Insurance. They've helped Olivia and I save over 20 grand in the last 12 months. Thank you. Take care. Peace.